So, what's the green stuff?
It's wasabi. It's like mustard. Gives it a real kick.
Ooh, I love mustard.
Gee, you know that mustard really clears up the nasal passages.
Oh my gosh, welcome back to DBL. That was the iconic Fran Drescher in her equally as iconic role as Fran Fine in The Nanny. There she is joining us here today. Welcome, Fran.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. How are you guys?
We're doing great.
Terrific.
I remember that scene so vividly, watching it with my parents who are huge fans of yours. And my dad had a thing with wasabi. He would always give wasabi to my older sister's boyfriends as like a trick to see how much they would cry. I know. So when you had the wasabi, my dad was like, I wonder what's going to happen to Fran.
What is it with dads and their humor? I don't get it.
I know, and I would have to say that literally I think it was the funniest scene of the series, and it's actually been compared, Fran, to the famous conveyor belt at the chocolate factory scene with Lucille Ball. So tell us, how did you get through that scene? Did it take many takes? Were you laughing?
Well, you know, we did a lot of physical comedy on that show. Once we started, it became something that was anticipated in every episode. And we always had a good time inventing it, rehearsing it, and then ultimately doing it for the live audience. We did a thing where I was masquerading as a candy striper in a hospital, and Mr. Sheffield came in with an appendicitis, and they asked me to shave him. And I started shaving his face. And they said, you know, what are you doing? We need you to shave him while we're doing surgery. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, you know, just under the thing trying to shave him and stuff. And the audience went so crazy when I was doing it live in front of them. That was our absolute biggest laugh. It lasted for like 5 minutes, and we didn't cut 1 second of it.
I remember that episode because I watched religiously. And you know, the thing about Fran, the thing about it is I was one of those kids, and I'm sure all of my co-hosts will be like, what? I was always, quote, doing too much. I was flamboyant. I always had a lot to say. And you gave me license to feel like that was okay. So I just want to thank you through your character, through who you are.
Color now.
Yes, yes, it's just kismet. So, okay, of course, Fran Fine's style and of course her voice are one of a kind. But is it true that you'd pick Cardi B to play Fran in the TV reboot? Ooh. And before you answer that, I also got to know, because I know you're going to tell me, what do you think of the song WAP?
Oh.
Well, first of all, I love Cardi B, and I think she's very funny, and she has a funny voice too. And she's the one that started comparing Fran Fine's costumes with the clothes that she wore. She is inspired by that character and probably grew up watching the series too. So, you know, as we started to think, well, if we ever do a reboot, do we want to, you know, use the same actors, or do we want to just do a whole new cast and bring it into the moment? And so that hasn't really been decided. Actually, we're writing the Nanny musical right now for Broadway, and we got Rachel Bloom from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend writing all the lyrics, and she's brilliant, a real phenom. And so we're very excited about that. And we think that within the next 2 years, we should be opening with that. And our agreement with our lead producer for Broadway was that he wouldn't have to compete with a reboot on television. So right now we're just really excited that the show is streaming on HBO Max, which is incredible, and no commercials, which, I mean, I'm lying in bed watching it and laughing, and I haven't ever seen it without commercials except in the editing room, because even when it ran on CBS, it was always with commercials. So to watch it as a little play on HBO Max is just an absolute delight. And it's so great that the fans are so enthusiastic about it all over the world. So, it's a lot of fun for all of us that it's having its moment right now with the kids that grew up watching it and are now adults sharing it with their kids.
I mean, I don't think your moment ever left, honestly. Now, you have to explain how this is happening, because this is kind of crazy for a lot of people that do work with their spouse. But you and your ex-husband, Peter Mark Jacobson, still work together, and you're still best friends. And I think that's really cool. But some people might not know that he's now come out as gay after the divorce. It's Pride Month now. So what does Pride mean to you?
I lovingly regard him as my gay ex-husband.
Yeah.
In my stand-up I talk about that a lot. But, just yesterday, I worked all day. I had to do a lot of press because we're promoting the Fran Jam for Cancer Schmancer, which is this Sunday, Father's Day. And I didn't connect with him. And we talk every day. We FaceTime. We're writing the Nanny right now. There's always stuff that we're doing together. We've been together since we were 15, and even though we've reinvented our relationship, we're probably closer and happier, happily divorced, I should say, than we were even when we were married. And he kept calling. He was very worried about me, and I just didn't connect with him. And I said, I feel terrible because I feel so blessed that I have somebody that worries about me. And it's probably why we're both still single, because who can compete with the history and love that we share for each other?
I love it.
In fact, Fran, this is really important. So before we let you go, we have to, and you just touched upon it, but I want you to elaborate a little bit more regarding Cancer Schmancer. You started it after surviving your own battle with uterine cancer, but you went misdiagnosed for 2 years, which is terrifying. And I know a lot of women, their story does not end up the same way that yours does because of the misdiagnosis. What do you want women to know based on your experience?
Well, you have to educate yourself on what the early warning whispers are of the cancers that may affect you. And then you have to pivot your thinking because at that stage, it's very easy to ignore. And we all have things that we think are more important. But that is the moment of truth when you have to retrain your mind to say, this is probably nothing, but God forbid it's something. I want to catch it in the whisper stage when it's most curable, because catch it on arrival, 95% survival. And the reason why we lose loved ones to cancer is almost always due to late stage diagnosis. So I didn't want what happened to me to happen to other people. And so I wrote what became the New York Times bestseller, Cancer Schmancer. But the more I spoke publicly, the more I went on the book tour, everything like that, the more I realized that I was not unique. The Fran Jam is this Sunday, Father's Day, June 20th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, but it's going to run for a couple of weeks so you can find it and enjoy it. It's got Jackson Brown, Cyndi Lauper, Cynthia Erivo, David Foster, Catherine McPhee Foster, and many, many more. And you can go for free and watch it at cancerschmancer.org, the Nanny YouTube channel, Fran Drescher Facebook Live, and Cancer Schmancer Facebook Live. And if you enjoy yourself, and I think you will, then make a donation. There's nothing too big or too small, obviously. And we love you, and we just want you to be well. Mwah.